Hi, I'm Rachel Tessman from StampYourArtOut.com, and today I'd like to share with you some alternate project ideas that I created using the contents of the August 2018 Paper Pumpkin Kit from Stampin' Up, titled Blissful Blooms. This kit came straight to my mailbox and contained all the papers, envelopes, adhesives, labels, embellishments, and twine that I needed in order to make 5 of each of these very pretty floral greeting cards. I also got a beautiful stamp set and a mini ink pad that I can continue to use over and over, even after my consumables from the kit are used up. All I need is my clear block to mount and use my stamps, and this one came free with my first kit, and my scissors. Stampin' Up! Includes a mini publication with photos and written directions, tips, and additional details, and shares a how-to video for each and every kit. Paper pumpkin kits are from Stampin' Up!, so the colors, images, and supplies coordinate with many other Stampin' Up! Products. I'll be using some of these coordinating products and a few extra supplies as I share my unique projects. You can find these items listed below and linked to my online store. You can also look below for links to learning more about paper pumpkin kits, starting your subscription through me so I can spoil you with exclusive ideas and gifts, and joining my Paper Pumpkin fan club on Facebook, where you can see even more alternate project ideas shared daily. If you're watching my video on YouTube, you can also click on the link below that will lead you to my website, where I've shared close-up photos of what I'll be sharing today. Let's get started. With all my videos, there are a few items that I have on hand that I always like to substitute out for items that come with your subscription. Just makes it easier for me to go faster in the video. So instead of these glue dots that come in the kit, I use the glue dots that you can get in the online store and my snail adhesive. Those tend to just be quicker for me to use. I always substitute in my large ink pad, much easier to use, although hang on to these even if you have the big pads, because this is great for the Stamparatus or if you're going to travel somewhere. These little ink spots come in very handy even if you have those big ink pads. And then the clear block, because it's just one of them, I have a ton of these ergonomic ones and they're just more comfortable in my hands, so over time I've gotten used to using these. This is what I like to use. So you'll be seeing me use those in the videos, and you do not need to get them, but just know that those things are available. Let's start by me sharing a couple tips that will help you to make the cards as is from the kit. First of all, the directions tell you that you can use 12 inches of twine for each card. You don't need that much, actually. You only need 10 inches. And if you don't have a ruler like this, sometimes these brochures come with little rulers on them. This time it did not, but this is 9 inches, and then you can just add a little extra. So you'll just need 10 inches for your card. And then it also tells you that you can use a maximum of 2 clear and 4 green vellum leaves per card, but you really don't need that many either. So save some of your vellum leaves to use later. The directions guide you in putting your leaves onto the back of your stamped label first and then the twine, but the picture on the front shows that the twine is actually layered on first. So I would recommend putting your adhesive either across the back here like that, or taking glue dots or whatever, and then putting the middle of your twine across like this, okay? And this is after you've stamped the front. But then you can come in and you can loop your twine like that, so it just peeks out from either end. See, you really don't need a lot. In fact, I probably could have used 9 inches. So let me stamp that label and walk you through that. So to mount your stamp, just lay it down and then use your block to pick it up. And I like to keep it at a slight angle so that I'm not using the edges of my block to guide me into stamping it. It's better if you kind of have it kittywampus on there. And then just ink up your stamp by pouncing up and down real lightly, because these are very, very squishy pads, these ones here. The ones that are the spots, you can pound a little bit harder. Okay, now that we've got it inked up, we'll just center it over the top of our label. Press it down firm, don't do any rocking, lift it up, and you're set. And I did put adhesive back there, but not a ton, so we're good. Now we're going to go ahead and flip this over, add a little bit more adhesive again, and we're going to wind that twine. All right. The next thing I'd recommend is placing your label where you want it to go on your card, but not sticking it down yet, and kind of eyeballing where your leaves will go. Then adding some adhesive behind where that label is and placing your leaves in place like this. And now that your leaves are in place, go ahead and flip your label back over and add dimensionals. Make sure that you're placing those dimensionals on top of your twine here and there too, because that will help hold your twine in place. Then peel off the backings. And stick it down. Now I did this on a piece of Blackberry Bliss cardstock so that you could kind of see better where I was placing my leaves. But that is the same technique that I did for my other two cards. I wanted a less feminine version of this card, so I brought in some silver and whisper white baker's twine from the online store and put that on the back instead. And now my card does not look so pinkish. It looks like you could give it to pretty much anybody. A little more subdued, right? And I love this saying. I just have to say this is one of my favorite sentiments that I've seen in a long time from Paper Pumpkin. Such a beautiful saying to put on a sympathy card. Now, because I used the label and some leaves here, I'm going to show you that you can take this card base and quickly put together a card that doesn't have so many layers just with that card base. So I use the label over here and the leaves over here, but I'm going to go ahead and stamp this card directly right here. And then I'm going to add some of the pink Flirty Flamingo twine right to the bottom here in this little space. And you can see that that card is super sweet just by itself. You do not need to have all of those layers to make such a pretty little card. And that way your cards can go a lot further if you have extra cardstock like the Blackberry Bliss, some Whisper White, and some Whisper White envelopes. But now let me introduce you to a really fun product called Share What You Love Artisan Pearls. They come in 5 colors, and these colors are really great at coordinating with the floral colors that are in the kit. So I just brought this twine off to the side, added a few of those pearls here and there, and it just stepped up the card just a little bit by doing that. So now I want to show you a fun candy holder for Toblerone chocolate. I love the shape of these bars. So we're going to take a card base and we're going to cut it and score it and wrap that Toblerone and decorate it up. So the first thing I did is I took a ruler and I measured to make sure I knew the distance from side to side, and it's 1 1/8 inch from one side to the next, but that's if you're going to have a snug fit. So I'm adding a 1/16 of an inch, which means we're getting down to some real detailed math here. So what I want to do is I want to integrate this score line into it, and I want to wrap the candy bar like this. So this first score line from here to here is going to be 1 1/8 plus a 16. So it's going to come right to that little mark right there, right before the 1 1/4 inch mark. So I'm going to lay my card in here, and I can see those measurements up above as well. I can also make sure that I'm measuring correctly by looking at this side over here, and I can see that my 5 1/2 inch distance here is actually just a 1/16 of an inch off. So I know I'm at the right spot. And I'm going to go ahead and score that. And then I'm going to shift it again. So if you want to remember, it's just before the 5 1/2 inch mark. And then you're going to go 1 3/16 again. So 1 1/8 plus a 16th will take you to 6 5/8, 6 5/8 inches. And so make sure that this score line that I just made is directly in line with that 1 3/16. And we're going to score it again. And then we're going to turn around and we're going to trim off so that this is only 1 3/4 of an inch wide. So again, use that score and bring it right to where your 1 3/4 inch mark is up at the top of your trimmer. And if you're looking at this side, it should come to 6 inches over here. And we're going to trim that. Now we're going to bring our candy bar in, and we're going to set it down like this. And if you want to, you can even tape it in place there so it doesn't move. I like to leave it loose so that whoever's getting it, can slide it out. And then you just wrap that around like that, and we're going to tape it down. So let's take our really strong tape. This is some stuff that you can get in the online store. It's called Tear and Tape Adhesive. And you can literally just tear it. It's pretty awesome. And we're going to stick that, let's see, we're going to put it right here because we want it to be as close to that score line as we can get it. It'll really hold the chocolate in. You know what? I'm going to use a tool that we are going to be selling soon. It's the Take Your Pick tool, and it has a couple different fun things on each end, but on this end we have a nice spatula. So after we get the tear and tape adhesive on there, we can lift up that little piece like that, especially if we have thick nail polish on, and it just easily comes right off. Okay, and then we just wrap like this, and we secure it down. And now we've got a nice wrap for our Toblerone candy. Then you can take and stamp your label. You can put some of the leaf embellishments behind it. You can stick that on top of your fun little treat holder. And you can add some artisan pearls here and there, and that's what you get. A fun little way to gift somebody a thank you chocolate bar. When I get my kits, I like to take the pieces in them and see how I can use them in ways that were not intended. For example, the little pieces that are between these labels are these fun little circles. And then these guys here reminded me of little flower petals. So we're going to put together some fun little flowers into to decorate this this clear tiny treat box is what those are called. So let's first go ahead and take the little cellophane protector plastic off. Set that aside. And when you get them, they're flat like this. You just want to bring them into a box shape. You start with the bottom, and you're going to first put the U shape in like this, then the two sides, and those are going to hook into the bottom where that U shape is. And then this piece is last, and that will insert into the bottom there. And you just want to make sure that all the creases there are nice and crisp so that when you stand it up, it looks like that. And then these flaps, they just bend inward, and again, just make sure that the creases are nice and crisp. And then you can close your box. We can decorate this up. This tool that I'm bringing in now is a must-have, I feel. It's called a bone folder, and it helps you to give a little bit of curl to cardstock or embellishments or whatever. It also helps to make sure that adhesive is really strong on a project. You call it burnishing when you press really hard. So we're going to go ahead and give these, what I'm now calling flower petals, a little curl. Again, you just hold it like this so that your thumb is against the other side, and you kind of rotate your wrist. And now we've got some fun little petals to form a flower. So we need our snips, we need some adhesive. The glue dots will work well, but we want to make sure this is slathered on the back. So I like the fact that I have snail because it will cover the whole back surface of this larger circle scrap. And then I have some that are already cut here. We're going to go ahead and stick those leaves, get that little scrap out of there, stick those leaves behind, or petals, right? Just like that. And I kind of want to have another layer, so I'm going to go ahead and add more snail, oops, well, we're going to have to add more snail adhesive anyways, because that one was not sticking. Let's try that again. And here is our pretty flower that we made using 4 of those leaves. And now we're going to take these clear vellum leaves, and we're just going to stick those coming out from behind so that that becomes, of course, the leaf part of the flower. And then we'll add that to the top of the box, and these other little circles can just be added, like the tiny ones, can can be added with glue dots coming down. So we're going to make them look like they're trailing down the front of the box. And there we have our finished little polka dot flower clear treat box. So you can put some fun candies in there or a gift. If you fill it up with some tissue paper that's a different color, like the blue tissue that comes in the paper pumpkin kit, then those little circles will really stand out a lot, and that way whatever is inside the container won't really distract from the embellishments and the decorations on the kit or on the box. Even better, look at this, Ghirardelli chocolates. 6 of them fit into this container perfectly. So that's a great way, or a great item to stuff these little boxes with after you've decorated them like that. So I have another treat holder that I want to show you, and this time I'm going to show you a finished version. This is for cupcakes. So I just had a fun birthday party here at the house, and I have a ton of cupcakes left over. So I thought I would show you how to make these fun little individual cupcake boxes. So let's go ahead and get started with that. The first thing we're going to do is assemble the box base, and that is made from one of these mini pizza boxes. So we're going to cut off at the score line. So here's the lid. This is the lid of the box. We're going to cut off these 3 sides. Now you could use like a long scissors, or you can come in and use your trimmer, but you want to make sure that the crease here is lined up with this little little divot in your trimmer. And you come along here and you slice, and you do that on all 3 sides. Now it might not cut all the way through. I know I had to come in with my snips and kind of get that finished off. So it's up to you. If you would rather take a long handled scissors, you could certainly do that too, but you want to make sure that you have a steady hand if you're going to cut that yourself. Next, you're going to go ahead and put some adhesive here and here. And we're going to use some strong tear and tape adhesive again. And you could put adhesive all over the tabs if you really wanted to, but you don't need to. You just need enough so that you can secure the back in place. So you'll pull that up like that. And then these will come in on the side and we'll go over the top. And it just holds it in place better. So now we have to fill in the bottom with the little thing that holds the cupcake. And we want to make sure that this isn't flimsy. So we're going to take one of those flaps that we cut off, and it doesn't matter which one, but we're going to go ahead and stick that on the inside of the box. Right like that, and that'll stiffen up this so it doesn't move back and forth, and we're going to cover that up so you won't see that. Next, let's go ahead and take an envelope and the trimmer, and we're going to trim right at this score line where the envelope flap bends. And you're not going to go right on top of that score line, but you're going to go a little bit on the inside of it. Because when you sometimes cut on a score line, it frays, and we don't want to do that. Then you're going to go ahead and lick this and seal it down. And then we're going to trim off a little bit from each end. You're going to bring each end into the 11/16 inches mark, which is the 16th inch mark just before the 3/4 inch mark. So when you see the 1/2 inch, this is the 1/4 inch, that's the full inch. This mark here, go 1/16 inch in. And you'll trim that, and then you'll rotate it, do the same thing on this side. And that will give you a piece that is 4.5 inches wide. And now we can open this up and we can trim here, and hopefully you can trim right on the inside of this score line, and that'll bring you right up to the 4.5 inch mark this way. Save this, you're going to use that. But now we want to put some score lines in here. So we're going to go ahead and score a 1/2 inch all the way around. So if you measure the space inside these pizza boxes, they are actually almost exactly 3.5 inches square on the base. And we do not want to put something inside of there that's going to be that exact same size. We have to go a little bit smaller, but not too much smaller either. So what we're going to do is when we score a 1/2 inch on all of these sides, this 4.5 by 4.5 inch piece is going to go down to 3.5 inches because you're going to have the scores all the way around. That cuts off a 1/2 inch and then another 1/2 inch on the other side. But we want it to be slightly under. We want it to be about a 1/16 of an inch under, which means when we score, we're going to go a 1/2 of a 1/16 inch in all the way around. So we're going to go to the 4 inch mark and then just go a little bit inside of that and score and score all on all 4 sides. And now we'll take our paper snips or scissors and we'll come in and we'll trim. And you're going to have little envelope pieces that fall off, which is fine. They're on the back side here. But you're going to trim in to 2 opposite sides, like that. And then you're going to fold, and you can use the bone folder to help you crease. It's another great thing that it does. And then we want to make sure that these little tabs are folding as well. So fold on all of those score marks. And you can use the tear and tape adhesive on this next step, but it's not necessary. You could also use a glue dot, or you can just use a little bit of snail. But we're going to go ahead, oh, now I got tape on my table. We're going to go ahead and put adhesive on all these little tabs. Oh, and we have to punch. So we're going to first look at the envelope piece here with the point coming towards us. We're going to fold this flap under, and we're going to bring in the 2 1/4 inch circle punch and insert it. It's going to go beyond this little fold line here, so you're not going to punch into the fold. And if you can center it and keep it as pushed in as possible and punch, then you have the perfect little hole for your cupcake to sit into. Okay, so now we can go ahead and put adhesive on all 4 tabs. And this will just get inserted into the base of the box. Like that. Isn't that fun? So that's where our cupcake's going to sit. Now let's decorate up the box. So we're going to bring in some fun ribbon. This is our silver metallic edge ribbon. And that's going to help to secure our box a little bit more so that it holds really still. And so this, you can see how it's already kind of bending away from our adhesive that we put back here. It's a really tight fit in there, so it's going to help hold the box together at the base. We'll want 20 inches of that and then another 13 inches of that. So I've already cut that. One of the pieces we're going to put on the top of the box and one we're going to secure around the base. And then we're going to bring in some blends. Blends markers are alcohol-based markers that can color directly on ribbon. It's awesome. So I have 2 combo packs here. This is the Old Olive Light and Dark, and then we have the Flirty Flamingo Light and Dark. Those are both colors that are used in this paper pumpkin kit. So what I thought would be fun is to use the dark Flirty Flamingo. And all you do, it's so easy, is you just take and color by running the brush tip of your marker a couple times along one side. And watch, it colors the other side automatically. So you only have to color one side of your ribbon. And you want to make sure that you have some protection underneath, because you can see the color is going through onto my scrap paper here. So just let that dry. And once it's dry, you can take and wrap it around the base of your box and tie it in a knot. The next thing you'll do is you'll take the early espresso ink pad, and of course I'm matching my cupcake color here, so you don't have to use this color, but we're going to go ahead and ink up the congratulations stamp and stamp that down on our skinny little strip here. And then we're also going to add some early espresso cardstock and punch that out with our leaf punch. So we have some brown that way too. And we'll pair that up with one of the green leaves in the kit. We'll put some dimensionals on the back of that, and that will go towards the top of the cupcake holder. But the first thing that we want to do is add some background paper because this looks really ugly up here. So I took the envelope paper that was left over and cut it down to 3 7/8 by 3 3/8 inches. And I put some of that tear and tape adhesive behind here. I'm sorry, 3 1/8 inch. 3 1/8 inch? I better measure that again just to make sure. Let's make sure. Nope, 3 3/8 inches. Okay, so 3 3/8 by 3 7/8. And the tear and tape adhesive in the back will just really be a nice, strong adhesive for this background. And we'll just place that on the back like that. And then we're going to take this 13-inch ribbon and we're going to tie it from the front to the back, like that. You probably could have even gone with 12 inches here. Looks like we have a lot of extra. This is where you can put a personal message if you want to. You can take and, you know, if you're going to give it to somebody, you can place that little message on the back side here. And it might actually help, because this is the way I did it before, to place it on top of a table ledge. So if you have a ledge of a table, and then you can tie your ribbon. So I'm going to go ahead and do that off camera. Okay, it's on there nice and tight now. And because this one is off to the side, I wanted this one to go off to the side. I think on my other one I have them centered. So you can go ahead and trim your ribbon. And then for the front, I've put some dimensionals on the back of my label piece, and I've got them top and bottom. So basically when the ribbon gets connected to this, it's not just going to be connected to the ribbon but also the background, if that makes sense. It's going to be connected above the ribbon and below the ribbon. And then we're just going to take these pieces here, and let's start with the green one, and kind of have that stuck on that piece, and this one coming up from it like that. And we'll secure it down. And the last step is putting the cupcake inside. And if it's your average cupcake, it will fit perfectly. Making sure I don't have any frosting on my hands. So here we have the two different cupcake holders. We might have to take those out to tilt them up. Hang on a minute, we'll go like this. There we go. There's one of the cupcake holders. And here's the other one. Fun, because you have two different kinds of envelope liners. You know, you have the pink ones and the green. The envelopes are lined in different colors. How exciting. What a fun way to present a congratulatory cupcake. The next project that I'm going to share with you is actually a little mini album, and it's called a squash album, although I used to call it an origami album because it looks like you're folding origami together when you put it together. So let me share with you that little mini album and how you make it. We have some pineapple punch cardstock, and this is one of the coordinating colors in the kit. We're going to cut it to 8 by 8, so you need to have a square piece of cardstock. 8 by 8, 6 by 6, 7 by 7. So whatever dimension you have, you want to make sure it's square. And then you're going to cut that in half, or you're not going to actually cut it in half. You're going to score it or fold it in half. So half of 8 is 4 inches. Give it a good crease, and we're going to rotate that and do that score again at 4 inches. Now we're going to flip it over, and we're going to score one diagonal score line, corner to corner, and just one of them. You don't need to do both. And we flipped it over because when you are folding cardstock for a card, you want to make sure that the valley, or the part that indents, is on the outside when you fold, and the mountain is on the inside. Okay, so this is the part that's raised up. You want to make sure that that's on the inside. Okay, so now we have all our score lines creased. And when you put this together, you can see why I would call it an origami album. So you're going to do 3 of those, and you can do the same color cardstock, or you can do 3 different color cardstocks. So let me bring those pieces in. I just picked 3 other colors from the kit, and I've already got them done up like this. In fact, we could add this one in if we want to make it an extra long album. And you're going to connect them together. Do you see how they're connecting together? What you're doing is you're going to insert one square side going the opposite direction to the other piece. And that's where we're going to tape them together. So I'm going to use that tear and tape adhesive, and I'm going to connect these 3 pieces off camera because you don't need to see me taping. And when it opens up, it's going to look like this. And we have to decorate then all these panels. The square panels are going to be for photos, and these diagonal little pieces are going to be for little decorations. All right, so let me tape that together and then we'll start decorating. The pieces that are left over are 3 inches wide by 8.5, and you could potentially get 2 little photo mats out of that if you wanted your photo mats to be super small. But you could go bigger. Remember, this is a 4-inch by 4-inch panel, and this is 3 by 3. So you could really go 3.5 by 3.5, and that would give you a piece that's a lot larger. So it depends on if you want to save cardstock or not. If you want to save cardstock, then these strips would be the best way to go. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and decorate these little triangular panels here. And to do that, I'm going to go ahead and pull in that 3.5 inch by 3.5 inch piece that I had, because we're going to use that as a guide. I cut this card down so that I only have half of it. I just have the decorative half. I cut the other half off. And we're going to go ahead and slide that over here so that we can kind of see that if we took that triangular piece out here, it could probably be taken right from that spot. So I'm going to go ahead and just give it a little snip here, trying to save on my decorative cards here. Wouldn't do it this way normally. Normally I'd take my designer paper and cut it exactly to 3.5 by 3.5 and then cut each piece diagonally, and then those 2 pieces will go on there. But I want to go ahead and use parts of these for later. So I've just got little snips on each side there, and then I'm going to bring my paper trimmer back in, and I'm going to use those little snip marks that I made. I can see them better if I'm on this side here. And I'm going to connect that end with this end. And now I have a piece that is half of that square, and that can fill up and decorate one of these triangular panels here. So how many triangular panels do we have? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We have 12 panels to fill in. So I'm going to go ahead and cut a few of those by using my template. Now this one I would probably put over on this side because I can't really do either of the other 2 corners. So I'm going to go ahead and do that same technique here. And then when I come to one of these cards, I can really, focus on this section here, or I could bring it down and get that butterfly in. So I'll go ahead and do that. A couple more tips I have before taping all of these panels in is if you have anything directional like this butterfly here, assume that your album is going to go a certain way, and then make sure that when you're putting it down, the butterfly is going to be flying in the right direction. You probably don't want it going that way. So I'll want to split this piece in half diagonally that way. Same thing with this one. You can see a little bit of that butterfly up there, so I'll probably put it this way. And then you can use the envelope liners, so I'll go ahead and split that in half. But I got smart on this one. So I took and opened up the envelope, and then I thought I would just take these triangular pieces and cut, and then same thing on this side, although I'm going to have just a touch of white over here, but that's okay. It's only on the end. And then I have this huge piece to use with something else. Couple other things that I want to share with you as I'm putting these pieces down. If you put your 2 triangular pieces right next to each other, you can get right up to the edges as you tape. And then just pull them apart like that. Another thing that I want to mention is, do you see the photo mats and how they are placed in there now? That reminded me that when you're taking photos for this album, this is up. So you want to make sure that your camera is tilted somewhat so that you have your subject going up and down, in a triangle, or not a triangle, a diamond shape. So Make sure you're thinking about that when you're filling the album with photos. It's something that seems minor, but in an album like this, it's kind of a major deal. Then you can just smash it down like that, and then we'll add like a little decoration on the front. So I've already stamped this piece here. I stamped a little flower on some scrap paper that I had cut off to use from other cards. And so I've got that stamped with, that's Melon Mambo, and Pineapple Punch for the center, and then Memento Tuxedo Black for the center of the flower. I've got a couple of the green pieces here. I'm going to tape those to the back side, pop this up on a dimensional, and I'm going to stick that onto the album front like this. Probably put this on a dimensional so that I can get some ribbon behind it. And I'm thinking that that ribbon, the metallic edge ribbon, might be the best bet for keeping this thing closed. So this is what you'll want to tape on first. You can tie it in a bow, have plenty of it. Tie that in a bow, and then you can decorate the front as long as you've got your ribbon down in place. All right. So I measured out 24 inches of this ribbon, and I have it going across, surrounding the album and meeting together out here so that the ends are even. I also have something very heavy on top so that my album doesn't move. And I'm going to go ahead and lift that flap up. I've already put some tear and tape adhesive down here, and I'll peel off those backings, and then I'll bring this ribbon across. And you're only going to tape one side. If you tape the other side, your album will not open properly. You have to let that side loose so that it can open and expand all the way. Then you're going to go ahead and tie this in a bow or a knot or whatever's comfortable to you. And just tie that right on the side. And then we'll go ahead and decorate the front. And remember, your album's going to go like this, so you want to have that diagonal. I've already put dimensionals on the back side. I'll peel those up and off. And it doesn't matter where the dimensionals are, because remember, this ribbon is held down in place now, so you can put dimensionals in the middle as well. We're going to bring that up just a little bit. And I put glue dots instead of dimensionals on the back of this flower. And I think what we're going to do, I don't want it to be in the way of my bow. I think we're going to have to stick it off to this side instead. Maybe we'll have to move these a little bit up like that. There we go. There. Now when I tie the bow, it won't be in the way. So let's go ahead and open that up so you can see. And there's the inside of our album. And when we fold it flat, there we go. That's what it looks like from the outside, and that's what some people call a squash album. Origami album or squash album. Fun, right? I have two more ideas to share with you, and this next one involves using your scraps. So we're going to make a quick card using these little scraps that I've cut off of all my other project pieces, and I'm going to quickly put that together. So I've cut all my pieces to 4 1/4 inches wide. And on one of them, which is a little bit taller than the rest, I'm going to stamp the Thinking of You. This piece is, let me make sure I give you the right dimensions, it's 1 3/4 inches tall, and the rest of these are 5/8 inches tall. So I'm going to start with this top strip and add it to my card base. This is Pineapple Punch. And I'm adding it about 5/8 of an inch down. So it's about the same distance as the width of the strip. And then I'm going to go ahead and add this bottom one at the bottom, about the same distance as the top one is from the top. And you can measure if you want to, but you can also eyeball this one pretty well, because the ribbon is going to, or the twine is going to allow you some leeway. So now I'm just going to leave a gap in between the rest of these strips. And there's going to be a wider gap in here, and that's okay, because we are going to add some twine. I might have to adjust this one here. Hang on a minute. So now we can come back in with the twine and wrap it around a couple times and tie that in a knot. Definitely better with a bow, right? A little fuller. So, very fun card. It's a great way to use up little strips that you might have. Seriously, just slap them onto a piece of cardstock and you have an instant card. I wanted to make another easel card. I love making easel cards, and these two pieces here just call out to me saying, make an easel card. So we're gonna do that, and we're not gonna make it as floral. So this one you could give to anyone who's not into flowers. And I'm gonna use the stamp set called Picture Perfect Birthday because it has some great birthday sentiments in it. The stamp set that comes in the kit, it does not really have anything birthday-ish, and I wanted to make a birthday card. So we have a half a sheet of basic black cardstock. It's already cut in half, and now we're going to score it in a couple places. We're gonna score it at 5.5 inches, and then we're gonna score it again at half of that, which is 2 3/4 inches. Now we'll need this piece. This is just a piece of Mossy Meadow cardstock, and we're going to cut that down to 4 inches. It's just a scrap that I knew would work. 4 inches by 5 1/4, and that's going to go on the inside of the card. So we can go ahead and already put that in the card. Just put a little adhesive on the back side. Make sure we know where that center, that middle is here. Okay, and for an easel card, you want it, the top piece to split into half like that so it can prop up and hook against something like this. So now we need to decorate the front. We're going to grab a couple images from the Picture Perfect stamp set. We're going to grab this one that says Celebrate the Good Stuff. Yeah, it's a well-loved stamp set, isn't it? Definitely used it in some bright reds or pinks or purples. Okay, so we have those two images. And that's okay, that does not hurt your stamps, by the way. All right, Celebrate the Good Stuff and Happy Birthday. And we're going to stamp those onto these two pieces. And I changed my mind. We're going to use Tuxedo Black, the Memento ink, to stamp the sentiments. So we're going to go ahead and stamp Celebrate the Good Stuff on this big label. And the Happy Birthday on this piece here. Set those aside. Now the next thing you're going to do, this is just a tip I have for easel cards, is you're going to fold this flap. You can either fold it this way or fold it under, but this will kind of give you a guide as to where you're going to put the propped up middle piece on the inside. And we want that to be on dimensionals. It needs to be raised up or your easel card won't have anything to hook onto when it is in easel form. So now we have that done. Oh, and we want to add some of these little branches behind it too. So we're going to kind of figure out where that's going to go. Eyeball it here. And it doesn't have to be right up against there. It can be a little bit lower, but this allows you, this kind of gives you a guide. So I think we're going to put those pieces right there. So let's go ahead and flip this over and put a little bit of adhesive right in that spot to catch those branches there. There we go. And now we can place that right about there. And that's going to hold on to the card when it's opened up like this. Now we can close that. And let's add these branches where they're going to sit. And it's okay if it goes beyond that little score line there. In fact, we kind of want it to. So I think that's where I want to have that sitting. So that means I need some adhesive right about there to add these branches. Let's make sure it's in the right spot again. And you don't want it to go beyond the cardstock edge or it won't fit into an envelope. We're just going to put that flat on the card, centered right in that little middle panel. And there we have our more masculine, less feminine birthday card. Celebrate the Good Stuff, Happy Birthday. This is where you can sign the card because you have a lighter color in there. And that's what it looks like when you first pull it out. Isn't that fun? All right. Now that you've watched my video, I hope you can see that there's so much more to these kits than meets the eye. In the US, these kits are just $19.95 plus tax. And even though it's set up as a subscription program, there's no commitment. You can stop your subscription at any time. I hope you got some inspiration from what I shared. Thank you for watching. It builds creativity to think outside the box. Be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel so that you can catch more paper pumpkin videos that I've shared using past kits and more that I'll share with future kits. Also, be sure to visit my website at stampyourartout.com so that you can view close-up photos of these projects, see photos of other paper pumpkin kit ideas in future and past posts, and see many other great ideas that I share using Stampin' Up! Products. If you're watching my video on YouTube, look for links in my description below. And to get spoiled with extra goodies and receive some extra exclusive paper pumpkin project ideas, get your subscription started with me as your demonstrator. I hope you enjoyed this video tutorial. Now I'd like you all to go and stamp your art out. Bye-bye.